Hello, everyone. Good evening here, where if you are in Brazil, or good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. We are starting our another session of Out of the Box Developer, and I'm super excited to talk about the topic today. It's digital transformation and AI in the industry. I do really connect with the challenges I have here on my day to day, and yeah, we're gonna have lots of questions. If you have any questions, as always, please paste here on the chat, on the comments, so we can see it, and also bring your challenges here. And before I do call our guest today, let me say hello to everyone. Hey, Thiago, how are you, man?
Hello, Hugo. Hello, everyone. I'm great. Very excited to hear more about this subject that it's very important, right?
Excellent. And you, Chila, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So, looking forward to this conversation to get more information from someone who knows the topic very well. So, I'm excited about it.
Excellent. And I see that we already have a hello here from Bruno. Hey, Bruno, great to have you here watching us. So, yeah, if you are watching us as well, do like Bruno here, say hello so we know that you are here with us. And you, Pedro, it's great to have you here. You are back to Brazil, right? For temporarily back to Brazil, right?
Yeah, I'm temporarily back, but it's glad to be here in Brazil, and I'm glad to be here with you guys. Last time I wasn't able to join, so yeah, pretty excited about the topic. I think this is a AI is something that is changing all industries, and it's definitely not only software development that is our case, right? And yeah,
Sure.
and much more than that, and that's important, very interesting topic that we can bring today.
Yes, excellent point. You're right. Not just software development, all the industries are changing, and probably all the industries have the lots of questions, lots of challenges going through. And let me say, hey Igor, how are you, man?
Hi,
Great to have you here.
Hugo. Great to be with you guys. Hi, Tiago, Tila, Pedro, everyone that is watching us. Absolutely. Great subject. AI. It's like the technology and the .NET bubble was in the past. It's transforming the whole industry. And AI is one of these disrupting changes in the history of tech that is shaping the companies worldwide. Like Pedro mentioned, not just for coding, it goes much beyond coding. And that's how we are seeing these transformations in the whole industry. So it will be a very interesting subject to be with our guest today.
Yes. So, and to talk about this topic that go way beyond software development, we have the pleasure to bring someone that is a super experienced in many industries here. Actually, she started in marketing and communication, and then moved quickly to head of business unit, and then director, senior director, and now she's a business unit executive at Cornerstone. So I'm super excited to bring here to table Fabiana Piazza. Let me quickly hear. Hey, Fabiana, how
Hi.
are you?
Hi. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite. This is a topic that it's in my heart. And as you mentioned, I'm going to be also truly excited to talk about this and also to answer questions and share experiences here with all of you.
Excellent, great, and really thanks a lot for being here and accepting our invitation. And well, I think we have a lot of questions here, but I think it's a great start to just to a quick introduction. I know I give a quick introduction here, but if you can talk a little bit more about yourself, your backgrounds, and then how you get where you are, I think it would be very interesting to everyone.
Sure. And and thanks for the quick intro you gave as well. And I'd say prior to being an executive, I'm also the mother of Maya, my 5-year-old. I am a wife, I am a daughter, and I am a sister, which are the bigger roles I also have a pleasure to have in my life. And I am born Brazilian. I'd say spent 12 years of my career in Germany and landed in the US 3 years ago. I worked in companies, and mainly my heart beats for the industrial verticals. So I've been working in the industry for more than 20 years, different segments, closed capital, open corporations, and now recently private equity backed. So I'd say faced different digital transformation, and now we talk about AI, and how we're envisioning or implementing AI in the industry. It's a topic that I'm passionate about. I would say we have good cases, we have examples that are being broadcast all over the globe, but there's also struggles within the industry to get there. And that's, I'd say, a little bit of the aspects that I can bring in here today with all of you. So I'd say I'm a mixture of cultural background. I love to exchange ideas and connect to people. So feel free to drop questions in the chat, but also connect with me after the session. I always get inspiration from different sources and like to ideate or innovate and feed also, let's say, my industrial experience with tons of great software developers out there and the technical aspects of it. I'm not a technical person, I'm mostly commercial, but I love learning more about the technical aspects as well and bridging two topics together, because in the end, there's no commercial with a technical backbone. There's no technical backbone with a good go-to-market and making money out of it. So that's why I'm truly excited to be here, share a little bit more of my experience, but also gain experience from all of you as well.
Oh, cool. And yeah, it's very interesting that you you mentioned you have no the technical background, but you have to interact with lots of technical person probably, right? Because you're talking about
Yes.
AI, and probably the most parts they bring you to call you probably are on the tech IT people, right? I'm not sure, but I probably believe in so. And I will just enter with the first question, then and then I will open for everyone here to ask. But what is the biggest challenges that you have been seeing these days? I know that probably you have a range of challenges, but maybe some biggest interesting challenges that you see that's repeatedly have in different industries, and how have you been approaching them?
Yeah, I'd say the first big challenge is always to define the problem to solve, believe it or not. And believe it or not, everybody starts with different ways of thinking. And the more multifunctional you go in defining your problem to solve, the harder it is to define the problem per se. So I'd say even talking about AI, and it's a buzzword everywhere. Everybody wants to implement something with AI, but I always step back and say, okay, what's the problem we want to solve? What's the real customer problem we want to solve? And get everybody at the same page before even a project starts. Sounds simple, but it's, I'd say, tough, and sometimes the most important step prior to even start any project, let alone then AI ones. And I've seen this across the board, in different segments as well. It's so simple and so powerful. What's the real problem of a customer or of productivity that we want to solve? And then what kind of building blocks we need and what kind of competences or technological backbone we need as a consequence.
Excellent. I totally be with you, and I know these. Sometimes you have to also have the guts to go step back and what is the problem we are solving? Because people are so overwhelmed with. I think it's excitement plus anxiety of using AI on everywhere they can because it's hyped. It's everyone is talking about it, and sometimes someone has to have guts to say, "Oh wait, wait a moment, let's think a bit," and bring everyone back to the earth. And I say that because I'm in the consulting company, so we have a lot of discussions. We have a lot of we also suffer of this. We have big. We can play on every kind of industry, and so the ideas overflow all the time. And sometimes we just see first the solution before understanding the problem, right? So that's a very a classic consulting motto. We have to focus on the problem before, right? That's true. That's totally
Yeah,
true.
sometimes I feel we create the problem. And are we actually creating a problem, or is this a real customer pain we're going to solve, you know?
Yeah.
So
That's
I sometimes do this exercise of putting ourselves in the customer's shoes. It can be an external customer, it can be an internal customer, but I find ultimately very powerful to take out of, are we creating a problem, or are we actually solving a real problem?
that's also something that marketing tend to do a lot, right? If you don't know you have a problem until you realize you have a problem. So it's like selling a car. You do have a great car, but someone appears with a bigger car or a car with a screen that rotates. Now I need that. So you're creating a problem to sell that problem, would say in that case. And that's how they say. But back to AI, I believe we already also talked about that here in previous sessions, but lots of people are using AI to create smaller
Igor,
projects. Can you hear me?
Igor, before moving forward, let me just bring Pedro. He raised a hand here. Probably he have a question related to the topic, Pedro. Go
No,
ahead.
yeah, we were talking about the problems as well. I think you were
Yeah.
saying the same, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about
Okay.
the subject. I'm not moving forward, Hugo.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was telling that using AI without having a clear, like Fabiana just mentioned, that's so simple, but that's key for the success of any project, either big or small. Solving a problem is key to the success of anything, absolutely anything. Why do I say that? I believe it was on the session with Professor Isidro. I don't remember. We talked about that there are lots of people burning tokens crazily on their personal projects and tons of apps being generated that solves nothing. And people complains why my app is not getting successful because it's not solving anything. So this simple thing you just brought us is key for small projects and also for huge projects. I believe for big projects it's even worse because they have a lot of money into it, right, Fabiana?
Yes, yes, I couldn't agree with you. And that's also a tricky part, you know, the higher the budget you have, the higher, I'd say, more hyper focused you need to be in a real problem to solve, because that's when you have more flexibility to have what I call hobby projects instead of like really targeted ones that are going to bring a payback. which is also an ultimate discussion, is how much of effort, energy, and budget you're putting in AI, how much is it really converting, and how do you measure it? So I tend to think that the higher the budget, the trickier it gets to really narrow down to a real problem you were trying to solve.
And how do you tend to find these real world problems to solve with your team and your company? How do you guys get to a place? We do have something real here that is willing to put efforts to create a solution for that.
Yeah, very good question. It's a combination of factors that I tend to use, and also wanted to listen more. Maybe you guys can put it in the chat, your perspective as well. But first, definitely starts with a good vision and a strategy. What are we trying to achieve? But also a great voice of customer. If you have, for example, issues you've been facing in terms of customer satisfaction or churn or deliveries, or even internal in some areas in terms of productivity. So it starts with a vision, a strategy, but also with a very good voice of customer. And again, it can be your external customer or it can be your internal customer. Narrow the problems down, and then we truly start evaluating what are the key KPIs we're lagging behind, and we would eventually try to improve them and ideating on how to improve them and what we need to get there. And what do you need to get there? Sometimes it will pass through a combination of competences. Sometimes it will pass through a combination of qualification, and sometimes it passes through technology as well. And that's when we truly evaluate, is this a problem that if we put AI, will it be solvable? Will we solve faster? And how we're going to measure if this is successful or not, So I think it takes also a multidisciplinary view on, after having clear strategy and voice of customer, to put the different hats there and evaluate the core of the problem to solve. Because also, if you have a view on the problem and your peer has a different view and another department another view, it doesn't align to the true, let's say, energy canalization of the solution. So finding a problem, narrowing this down, but also putting everybody at the same page with the problem to solve, I'd say it's halfway there.
Great. Voice of the customer. I think I heard that before, right, Bruno? Bruno that is watching us. Great, thanks. Thank you, Fabiana. Pedro, go on with your question.
Yeah, I have a question. I think because all of this looks doesn't look different to me when we are talking about digital transformation. Like, I don't know, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, when we start talking about digital transformation, I think all these same questions were raised exactly because of the same thing. Because people, we want to execute digital transformation, so what we're going to automate? Nobody. It was like a really hard question at the time. So my question would be, what changed from that questions at that time when we talk about only digital transformation now with AI? Are we able to solve problems that were not possible before, or we are in the same with the same problems?
It's a great topic and a great question. And what I think it changed is definitely you can have faster prototypes. You can test faster. You can have quicker beta versions, and pull back faster. So whatever we talk about is this lean startup world. It's kind of like the fail fast. And I think when I talk about and envision the industrial segments, the industrial in general had very longer development cycles, very long testing cycles. In the digital transformation as well as AI now, I see much faster pace in testing, or even the appetite of running risks than before, for multiple factors, accessibility of technology or learning curve, or even appetite to run risks. And I think, answering your question, I definitely think that some of the key technological pillars and even AI is accelerating prototyping or rapid prototyping. That's what changed, but the core of how do you get there, I tend to think it's still a little bit of pieces of it are still classic, like voice of customer, user journey, user experiences. You can do this even following the steps, but at much faster pace, and eventually even with lower budgets than what you used to have for rapid prototypes. But I'm keen on your perspectives as well.
No, yeah, I was wondering exactly that, because it looks it is interesting to see, because we are in a software development industry. We are seeing exactly that. We are like being more. We have to be more faster in what we are doing. We have to be able to deliver much faster, to test much faster, and do all these things much faster. But in terms of software, when we are delivering software, right? So I can imagine I could imagine that AI could be solving like problems that weren't possible even with software before. Like, oh, I don't know, but at least in my vision, that's why I'm asking this question. I can't see like AI being too different than what we had in software before. Of course, we are like delivering much faster, but not like improving the types of problems that we can solve. That's what I can see. But I don't know if it's true. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I get your point. It's not that it's going to change completely. It can accelerate, but I tend to say that if you fundamental have process problems, AI cannot solve it all. You can have faster ideation, faster patches, but you're not going to solve fundamental issues if you don't solve them before applying any technologies. This was true before, and this is still true in, I guess, some of the cases that I've been prototyping. So I tend to agree with you that AI is not going to be the key solution for everything. It can definitely help. It can definitely accelerate. It can definitely eventually put some advancements in some areas where eventually you couldn't afford that many headcounts or people. But it's not going to be the ultimate solution for all the problems to solve. And I tend to think that now it's a lot of like a buzzword. Everybody, and if I talk to peers, I talk to segments, everybody's trying to do something with AI. It's a buzzword. Sometimes I heard some cases they even have targets of applying AI. And I am a believer that AI empowers a solution, but it's not the ultimate solution. And this was true before, and to me, this is still the case in some areas. I cope with. Your comment resonates to me a lot.
Excellent.
It tends
Go ahead.
to have a hype on everyone needs to implement AI just to sell that as an AI powered product. Do you see that in the market as well?
I see a concern that if everybody's applying AI, is the competitor also applying AI? So we need to apply AI and do something, you know. But again, kind of like, since I face so many different waves in industrial segments, I'm kind of like always getting back to the question: what's the problem we're trying to solve? What's the
Exactly.
productivity problem we're trying to solve? How do we measure if we're better or not? You know, because there's also a phenomenon that I laugh about it, which is if you're changing the reference, you're always measuring against a different status. So if you're measuring an AI, how do we test and envision and passing on that we're getting better with some AI solutions, and take the soft facts out and put more of a hard facts there, you know, because it costs also to put, like any other project, it costs to put a project out there, or to dedicate people, or to dedicate talents and resources. So how do you even measure if it's beneficial to that solution, that problem you're trying to solve? It's what I've been also investing time with. I'm passionate about data in general as well. So if we're starting a problem in terms of productivity, what are we trying to solve? What kind of key KPIs do we have? And if we implement AI and do it better, faster, what are the key indicators we're going to measure in short amount of time or short prototype to see if the indicators are good or bad, you know? And that's
Do,
why,
do you have an
yeah.
do you have any examples on that?
Yeah, I faced projects where, for example, it was taking a lot of expertise from key engineers to put some data on its place. It was a lot of manual processes or a lot of cross checks, and we tested some AI solutions. And in terms of streamlining data and putting data out there for even development cycles, we could go down, for example, from 4 months to 5 weeks time in such of work. So I could release engineering power to real development cycle instead of putting data in the organization. And this was like one of the key pillars to empower design or to streamline design in a global environment where data is really, I would say, really laid out in different forms, and you need them working on the same base, on the same page. So we measured how much time are we investing, how much effort and budget we need to put this AI project out there, and what's the consequence in a module approach or in a mini batch approach if we're getting there, or we're wasting even more time of the experts to put this data into its place. So that's why I tell you, instead of going full blown entire portfolio, I did this to a very specific targeted pilot and measured, and then we got good indicators, and then we expanded to the second batch, and then we got similar indicators. Okay, the trend is good, so let's go and apply this on an extended approach. So indicators that I used back then were definitely the lock-in of the experts, the manpower, the time consumed, and then the effort and costs to implement the AI solution, and how we advanced later on in terms of reducing and releasing this effort and this power to other projects. We could even increase the pipeline of other projects. This is one example, but you guys probably have also others out there. And that's why I think instead of a buzzword, I mean, how are we actually executing? How are we actually measuring and bringing this benefit? And even if it's a transformational journey, how do you put the other folks to believe that this is actually beneficial to an environment, to a customer, or to a business?
Super enlightened. I have.
Yeah, one question after that. Do you have any did you have an experience on the customer wanted to have AI when something you tried to use AI and then it didn't work? Like AI didn't help any? It didn't increase any of the metrics?
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh,
But maybe I mean, maybe all of us had experiences interacting with bots or some of the AI where we felt, this is not working quite well, you know? I had a private experience,
Yeah.
but not like putting solutions out there that backfired. Not yet.
Yeah, sometimes, especially you mentioned the bot, right? The chat bot, you just want. Sometimes these bots are very useful if they have enough information that you don't need to wait for a human to answer you. It's something that it's on his own database, and you can ask him in the middle of the night, and you have the answer that you want. But on other times, you just want to talk to a human. So the bot is insisting, and you need to say talk to human, because you're not gonna answer my question. It's out of the script. So on these specific times that they don't tend to help a lot. I even saw an example, I believe it was on Chipotle from US. They use the chatbot to ask, I want to talk about my pizza order, but first answer this Python question, and the chatbot answered the Python question to him. So they use the chatbot as a ChatGPT for free.
Sometimes I don't know if you do this, but sometimes I tease them just to see how far they go, you know? How robust they are. As a private person, I'm recently trying some new stuff out to see how robust they get. But yeah, I read cases where the bots were answering and scheduling stuff on the wrong way. So I heard about a case where the bot was even scheduling a hairdresser appointment on behalf of the hairdresser owner. So this was ideally making more productive, while the small shop and small business doesn't have many assistants to do that for them. But the bot was scheduling even on a proactive mode in dates where he wasn't even there. So the customer scheduled, got a confirmation, arrived at the shop, and it was the hairdresser wasn't even there. And he was like, "Where are you?" Thankfully, he had the number directly, and he said, "Well, but I wasn't there." And he said, "But your AI thing here answered and confirmed." So that are the cases where it can help, but you need to be thoughtful and careful not to burn the customer experience.
Exactly. It needs to be well parameterized, right?
So I think that when you tease the chatbot, you're doing a favor for the service to free testing from so, I say hello from AS Borges. So hello, great to have you here, AS Borges. So anyone that if you have any question, please send here in the chat. We can ask also to Fabiana. While we are waiting for your question, let me ask here, Fabiana. I see now that you are a business unit executive and participating in this AI transformation, and I see a lot of although we discussed now that it's pretty similar, the challenges, but something changes when we see the evolution very quick from what we had on 22 when ChatGPT went out, and nowadays, at least on the software development, it's completely different. The output we get from these models, and also all the environment ecosystem that has been built around it and still evolving. And in your position, what is your if you can bring a bit how it is your day to day, what is the challenges, how these quick evolution have changed your approach in 22 to now 26, that we have 4 years of difference. But I feel that the possibilities or the maturity and the confidence have risen since 22. I don't know if you a lot of questions, but yeah, just I think I overview of your day to day and how you have been tackling this quick evolving environment.
Yeah, I'd say a lot changed as well. I'd say the industry is more keen on SaaS platforms, software as a service, than before. Everybody's trying to get recurrent revenues in the industry as well, and this pass through technology. I see also the pressure of compressed development timeline in terms of products, but then also if you're going SaaS, you're having tech layers. The industry had to cope with this transformation down the road. How do you do this? How do you put technology on top? How do you get faster pace, faster prototyping? But also came the risk on cybersecurity, which I think most of industrial that experienced the SaaS were not very experienced in cybersecurity. How do you put this in junction with your development process? So I see industrial segments having to transform the processes, the development processes, also to transform competencies, new competencies you need to have because you were mostly mechanical in the past and now you're software oriented. How do you transition in terms of new competences? And as well as even the go to market aspects, you know, you were selling your product pretty much straightforward and now you're selling a recurring revenue. How do you do this? How do you follow up? How do you make sure you're in constant interaction with customer works? So I definitely see the same transformation in terms of these different pillars in the industry. This also reflected in my day-to-day work because I'm always constantly trying to check how can we do it better, faster, cheaper. You know, I think this shorter cycles brought us more acumen in terms of can't we just do this faster and better and cheaper? And that's when I tend to evaluate, okay, which are the possibilities out there, the possibilities in terms of even technology. So I think what you see in terms of technological evolution also obviously impacted industrial segments, not only the way you develop, the way you service, but also the way you produce it. And the way you do, for example, predictive diagnostics in your products, or the way you do it also in junction with when was this part produced? What are we learning out of this failure? How can we do it better next platform in terms of product platform? You know, so I see all this new aspects that some industry segments are advanced, some others are entering in this phase, and some others are evaluating how to enter in this phase still, depending on the product segment or even the maturity level of the industry.
Do you believe that these three elements you mentioned, faster, better, cheaper, were those the key elements to make AI move in the way that it is today?
You mean if AI contribute to this, or if this is benefiting out of AI? Or
No,
maybe it's
if
even
the effort that they put into brought a generative AI on what it is today, that is something that is generating things and not just a chatbot, and it's constantly evolving and doing all the transformer architecture and how powerful AI is becoming, and doing more complex things, do you believe that this evolution on doing faster, better, and cheaper, these three elements could be the responsible of this AI revolution? That I would say AI is evolving because companies were looking in a way on doing things faster, better, and cheaper. And so they have put a lot of effort, money, and investment on develop this technology.
Yes, definitely yes. And at least what I experienced is that if you had good agents that talk to agents, they get better and better, and eventually then you get higher productivity out of them as well. Yes, I would just step back and say not all segments and all, let's say, disciplines are that advanced. I still get comments even in executive levels of people even thrilled to even test AI for their own private usage. So they're just starting. So I would call the attention that whereas we have a lot of advancements there and way too advancements even in the way agents are being put it into production, I also face areas and even different levels of people that are just starting to experience their first AI in their personal lives, let alone in the professional environment. And that's the reality I face in industrial segments today.
Do you have an examples of industries that are more advanced in this path and industries that are like in this beginning of this path?
Yeah, well, I cannot speak on behalf of entire industrial segments, but I can tell you that there are great advancements in automotive and pharmaceutical industries out there. And I would say if I take a look at even, I'd say some classical environments or even in the building materials where I am, I still see that there's tons of opportunities out there to get AI implemented.
Do you also see differences, how advanced technologies get integrated, geographical differences? Because you mentioned you have spent some time in Europe, you worked there, and then you came to the US. So are there any differences, bigger differences between those continents, how they work in working culture, how fast they integrate new technologies? What's your experience with this?
My experience is that everybody's trying to advance anyway, but there are, I'd say, more cultural difference in terms of risk appetite. Some are more open to take risk and prototype. I can see this in the, for example, entrepreneurial spirit from Brazilians. They're always eager to test new technologies, to prototype faster than rather, for example, in some European countries where they're going to always assess the risk, the cybersecurity, or the processes before even going to the prototype section. So I definitely see cultural differences. But again, I think it also depends on the company culture. It depends also on the segment, how more strict in terms of security functions is the segment and how more relaxed they can be. That's at least the experience that I've faced in this past years.
I want to talk a bit about the future and your perspective. I feel that we got in a moment still evolving, still rising, but I think people are getting a little more conscious about some limitations, about some things that can go wrong, and and looking for ROI for the to before investing more. And in this moment, of course, it's just a opinion here, but what is your perspective for the future challenges? People, I don't know if I can ask specifically for. I think it doesn't need to be specifically for software development, but for anyone that's still assessing AI, still thinking it really have really will shift, will change a lot of things. What is the recommendations you see you give for them? And first, what is the risks you see in the future, how it will be evolving, and what is the recommendations you give for people to be more prepared for this future?
I it's interesting. I've been discussing this with a couple of sparring partners because we are facing different stage gates of AI implementation. Um, I would say for the future in terms of risk is definitely now you have fewer application. What happens once you have a lot of applications and a lot of agents at the same time? How do you don't drop the ball? How do you keep it checking that they're working in the right direction? The
I
second,
would,
I was just brainstorming with a friend on the costs of running the AI models.
Mhm.
Is everybody going to be able to afford? We talk about the constraints in the energy grid. Do we have to have a new role to try to put the AI modules in the cheapest time frame, in the cheapest location? Is this going to be a new role that's going to exist, to be able to even afford running the models? So this was the recent discussion I had with some peers about this. How would they envision? Because as you go full blown, the costs are going to also go on exponential. So is this going to be a new role that's going to exist in industrial segments where we are very
Okay.
tailored to productivity? This was one of reflection we had, and I'm keen on also listening more from you guys or even in the chat, ideas on how the future evolves, if the new roles are going to be a little different from what they are right now, and how is this going to influence the way you govern or the way you put new models out there.
It's like a FinOps for models, for these large language models, right? And we see that the providers are having issues with the cost of being serving these models. It is not cheap. They have I think the world the biggest, largest infrastructure for serving them, and they are having issues. So yeah, that's really totally true. And when you mention about having lots of applications, lots of I gave a name for them recently, talking with some friends, that I call them a lot of Tabajara solutions. So Tabajara is because they're quick, they're made quick, vibe coded or not, but we're gonna have lots of things. I don't know if and it's interesting to be. We have been discussing the trade-off of maybe it's cheaper now to throw away and restart than try to fix Tabajara solutions, because it's it won't be so easy. So it has a cost to maintain.
I love that. How it's definitely a reflection point for me. Very interesting experience shared here because sometimes it will cost more to fix it and instead of moving to the ultimate solution. You're totally right.
And about
in
costs, a question about costs. I see, for example, that now that the bigger models are getting like a really high cost, right? It's getting I've been reading some articles, people saying that it's getting to a point that is not it cannot be it doesn't pay the investment because it's too high, right? And I see, of course, and then we can see now Chinese models getting closer and closer in terms of intelligence and like the much lower cost. And my question is it something people are start doing, like changing US models to Chinese models, or even trying to run their models like locally to try to reduce costs? Is something that you're seeing in the industry already, or it's something that people are thinking about the
I've
future?
seen, I definitely see discussions on how to optimize the costs. I haven't seen like kind of like super aggressive shifts yet because of the relatively the concern on the risks. So I think, and this is my personal opinion, right? There will be evolution, like we had in different industrial segments, developing key components, high cost location, low cost location. This could happen as well in terms of the AI evolution. But I tend to think until then, there will be an effect on how much faster can data centers scale up, and how can you really process at the right time at the right cost.
I believe lost Fabiana.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
let's
definitely.
wait for her being back.
Yes.
Let's
Let's
wait.
wait for her to come here. And if you, upon that, Pedro, that you were talking, I remember that
Yeah.
we
So
talked. She's back.
You're back.
You're back.
am I
You're
back?
back.
Okay. So I don't know if I got cut off, but I was mentioning that before, going on a decentralized cycle, I tend to think that there will be this option on optimizing how do you process data, and even passing through the cycle of the increasing number of data centers and investments that are going out there. If this is going to be at the same pace as companies will need, as new users are going to adopt in a more wider perspective, I don't know, but I tend to think that before going to decentralized model and running the risk, I tend to think it will pass through how do you optimize this with the existing footprint that you have.
Yeah, it depends a lot on how business wants to profit it, right? Because having it running on larger data centers and centralized and getting bigger and more powerful, they can bill more the customers, right? And on top of performance, we talked, I mentioned something very long time ago when I was learning from these models about these. We do have the large language models, right? But maybe we start to see more and more these small language models that they are more fine-tuned to specific tasks. And that's what I see on these Chinese models, that most of them they are not allowed to run in the US for compliance and security reasons, like you just mentioned. That's something, a problem that does not happen in the European Union, more or less, not totally, but less than the US. And you can even, and you do even have cars, Chinese cars, that they are running AI to drive them autonomously. So they have that small language model specifically for that task of autonomous driving inside of the car. So maybe that's the way we start to see more and more in the upcoming years to reduce that higher usage data centers, but for general purpose, I do believe that the large language models, they will be along for a very long time yet.
I agree, and it will be definitely interesting to observe this move. I'm keen on observing and also exchanging with you folks down the road. How is this going to be evolving? The large language models and the more like lighter models down the road.
Fabiana, I would like to ask you a question that is not related to AI at all. It's related to career, because you have a great, successful international career here. You moved from Brazil to Europe. You stayed around 12 years in Germany, and then you moved from Germany to the US to continue on this successful career. I would like to have to know a little more about how was it? How was this growth? Was something that you were looking for when you moved to Europe, and then when you were in Europe, or opportunities were appearing and it leads to where you were right now, or was that on your mind all the time?
I was always curious to learn different cultures and languages, but and I always searched for environments that would connect me to different cultures as well. But the way I landed in Germany was not planned. It was actually an invitation out of an ex-boss. And at first I said, wow, it's probably too cold for a Brazilian, It wasn't even in my plans, but I decided to take the chance and risk it. And I had a great support from my family to do this as well. And embrace this opportunity because I was back then also one of the few, probably, yeah, very few Brazilians there in a German speaking environment. One of the few below 30 years old in a global leadership position. So I felt the honor of embracing a challenge like that, but also the duty to make it right and open doors for future nationalities to be leading in a, let's say, traditional industrial environment. So that's how I landed in Germany. And as you can imagine, passionate about Formula One and Ayrton Senna as I am, I fell in love with automotive segment and driving the nicest cars you can imagine in Germany,
Yeah.
unlimited speed and the autobahns.
That's amazing.
But then I also got caught up into, 15 years of automotive. I think it's time to reinvent myself. So I had to take myself out of my comfort zone again and took another opportunity to change markets and afterwards changing countries back again. And I think I also wanted to come back to Americas after all this time in Europe. So I think the stars aligned and I could make another change in segment and country. But I would say I kept my options always open, even though I always wanted to get to know cultures. I think I kind of like prepared myself mentally, but I also kept the doors open and one thing led to the other. And I also always paid attention how am I opening doors for the next ones, so whenever I pass, I try to make sure that what are the doors that they're opening for me, what are the doors that I'm opening for the next ones as well, because this is truly motivating me. And the same thing in female leaders in industrial environments. How can I do it right? And I try my best to do it right to open the doors for the next ones that are going to be sitting out there.
That's great. That's right. Thanks for sharing.
Yes,
about
it was.
Fabian.
Yeah, beautiful story here for the career and also for the motivation, right? Yeah, that is a great way actually to. We are getting in the end of the session, but it's a great way to finish the session with it. And once again, I appreciate a lot your presence here, sharing experience. For me, it was enlightening. Everything that you shared here, it was great to exchange these experiences and hear from someone that is in this executive committee, a global executive, and bringing your point of view, perspective about digital transformation AI. So thanks a lot. Do you want to let any last word for the audience, and also share your I don't know if there's a way to connect with you if people want to ask things for you? Oh,
Uh,
I think connection
Connection
issue again.
problems.
yeah, let's see if she's back in a
Well,
second.
while we wait a bit here, anyone last words?
Yeah, it was a great session.
Back?
Always great, right?
Am I back?
Ah, she's
Yeah,
back.
you're
Yeah,
back
you're
now.
back.
You're back
I
now.
don't know. Somehow I'm getting some issues here, but I'd say thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to talk about the topic I'm passionate about and exchange with all of you. The questions are also a point of reflection to me. I'm always eager to connect and share experience, thoughts. So feel free to drop me an invite in my LinkedIn, Fabiana Piazza. You can find my profile. It's the best way to connect with me. Thank you so much for this discussion here and inspirational thoughts to me as well. I take some of them back. So glad to be here today.
Yeah, thank you for being with us, Fabiana. It was amazing to have this conversation with you about the present of the digital transformation, about AI, about career. It's not every time that we do have a successful executive person here in the session. So it was amazing to have this different type of conversation, that we're not talking just about technology specific, but we're talking about the whole industry, about the whole transformation, that most of the times we're working on small little pieces of it, but not looking at the whole change that it does. So great to have someone like you that is on the front line of this digital transformation globally, with all the experience that you have. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
accepting our invitation.
And in case I couldn't answer any of the questions, or you thought about questions down the road, feel free to drop me the question directly as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Fabian.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
And
Bye.
I see a question from Borges. Borges, I think I will incentive you to send a question on the on Fabian Piazza's, or if Fabiana, if you have a quick one word for Borges, just to answer, just to not let it unanswered here.
The question is, I moved across country with my daughter. If I would give someone an advice to do the same. Yes, I moved across country with a 3-year-old. I would say she got better integrated than any of us. They have an ability to integrate and learn languages that it's beyond what we think. Depends on the age as well. I know I've faced friends that had tougher time as the kid is older, but I would say my recommendation is always to have a supporting system, a family that can juggle around together. And if you don't have, then count on friends and network. There's always a community out there that you can hook up and make questions in advance and prepare before you go. So before I moved over to the US, I started connecting to people here, asking questions about the school system, about the region, about the same peers that had kids in school. So I I kind of like activated the network prior to moving and doing a kind of like a scan beforehand. And it's amazing how you always find a WhatsApp group that's willing to share experiences or supporting systems out there. So Brazilians go to Brazilian WhatsApp network, or American WhatsApp network, or Germans or the Florida network or the US, and you always find somehow a network willing to help and support and share experiences. And I learned a lot from them as well, what goes right and what goes wrong, and prepare mentally, but also prepare with my more dedicated search on where to live, where to study, where to find supplies, and also other resources. And I would
Yeah.
Oh no.
She was.
She's gonna get
It's easier than ever to grab information these days. I've been on that as well, but I was 12 years old, so it was tough. Man, she's back, I think.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're back, Fabi.
Yeah, great. Yeah. And I would say trying to find sparing peers around in the region, it's always helpful.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
The earlier, the easier for the kids. If they are bigger, it's a little tougher, but they will eventually adapt. I can tell that by myself. But when they are little ones, they are like sponges. They just absorb the culture, the language, and they become native very quickly.
I agree.
Excellent. So, okay, so thanks a lot. I will finish the session here. Fabian, I will ask you to be a little more longer here with us on the backstages, and that's it. So thanks everyone. See you next session. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.